So going back to... No, of course you have to keep it.
So, but the part that's okay is okay.
The part that is okay is already in Gan Eden. The part that comes to fix, it's still liable to do all the mitzvot. You don't have a discount.
But then if you're, let's say you're not born in a situation where you're doing it, and you can't do
Then it means that milchatchila, from beginning, you were born in a place that you're going to have to do tshuva for everything. Means that the soul is in a lower level. If you were born, you can kind of point that if you're looking at a child that was born to an Orthodox family and it's like brought up into that life, probably the tikkun that soul has to do is very small. If it was born into a secular family, the derech, the path, that soul will have to go has a lot of work to do. So
if a soul is born was Jewish and is born non-Jewish.
that's a whole different thing. That's, I talked about it before, that in some cases the correction of the soul is to be born in a not Jewish body. Now, I don't like using the word punishment. I like using the word atonement or cleansing or reaction. But in essence, when the soul comes to any type of reincarnation, you can call it a punishment to the soul, but it's not a punishment. Rather, it's an atonement and a refinement to something that she did. The soul did a sin. Let's say I lied. I made a sin on a stain on my soul. I can be Torah observant. I can pray 3 times a day and learn Torah and keep Shabbat and do everything. But once I lied, and one time I looked at the wrong place, and one time I cursed, and one time I gossiped, and one time I didn't pray, and one time I missed here. I'm not a perfect person. I'm a human being. So when I have to correct something, sometimes what I have to correct is not so severe. So when I make something bad, you know, it's almost like me now taking a rock, throwing it at the window, smashing the window. So the owner of the window tells me, I'm not upset, just fix the window. Now I don't have money, so I have to go now and work the whole summer to fix the window. And this is a real true story. When I was once a kid, I kicked my ball into the neighbor's house, and I smashed, they had this huge, beautiful stained glass window like this, something huge. I smashed it into pieces. Okay? So I had to work the whole summer to fix it. My father had to put the money, because the neighbors were very upset, and my father told me, you were reckless, you now go and work. Instead of going to camp, you're going to go and work, and you're going to pay for the window. Now, can I complain to anyone? Even though I was a young teenager, I had to take responsibility. I smashed the window. So now I have to go and work, and instead of enjoying my time in the pool with my friends, I'm working, I'm carrying boxes. So same thing, the soul did something in this world. God says, no problem, I understand. Go back and work and fix it.
So what about a non-Jewish soul going into a Jewish family?
There's no such a thing as a non-Jewish soul. There's a Jewish soul born into a non-Jewish body. You understand the difference?
Yes, and what about if
a Jewish soul, there's no such a thing, a non-Jewish soul being converted. It's not going to be converted. You cannot convert.
But we don't know. Of this. A non-Jew, like someone who was not Jewish in the previous life, is born Jewish.
That in most cases don't happen. Somebody, a not Jewish soul that come back here into a Jewish body, that I never heard of, and I didn't see any source to it, and most likely it doesn't happen.
What do you say about people who think or who have recalled reincarnation? Is that possible?
Yeah, of course. First of all, a lot of the people, some people say that by hypnotism. How do they do it? Because the soul has a memory of all the reincarnations. But the soul, what the soul knows, and what we know is maybe 1% of what the soul actually remembers. The soul knows everything. Just that when the soul is in the body, it doesn't remember anything. You know, also when we are in our mother's womb, then the baby that's in the mother's womb, there's an angel above the baby teaching the baby Torah the whole 9 months. Then the soul, the body, the baby comes out of the womb, and the angel hits the baby on the mouth and makes him forget the entire Torah.
What's
But
the reason for this?
what's the reason? Because if we would know the entire Torah, then we beat the point of why we came here. The whole point in this world is that you have to earn and to work for it.
So why angel will teach us?
Why? For many different reasons. First of all, the baby is bored in the mommy's womb. But mainly because the soul takes an oath. And the oath is, it says, Mashbi'im oto shetiyeh tzadik ve'al tihi rasha. They're taking the soul and they're telling the soul, you're going down out to the world, like in the American courts, raise your hand and swear. They're making the soul swear, be a tzaddik, don't be a wicked soul. Now then the soul says, okay, you want me to be a tzaddik? Teach me everything, then I'll know what I need to do. So in the womb, the angel teaches the soul everything. Here comes another reason, is that when you're already learning it, if you reach a very high level of learning or refinement, you're like, oh, when you say it makes sense, it's you saying, in other words, I remember that. It's almost like a little kid that goes to a place and like, wow, I remember this place. That's where I played when I was 5 years old, and it gives you some warm feeling in your heart. The soul would go back to a certain situation and do a certain mitzvah, and wow, I feel this connection. So again, there's many reasons for everything, but I want to kind of go through the topic and then we'll go into more questions. But what you said before, there's no such a thing, at least from what I know, that a not Jewish soul will come into a Jewish body. To go back to where we kind of left off. Wait a minute, you have a question? She has a question? No, the girl over next to you.
So that means every soul is a Jewish soul?
I can't hear you.
Every soul is Jewish soul.
In Jewish bodies, yeah.
I mean like every soul in the world?
No, not all the souls in the world. Most of the non-Jews are not Jewish souls, but in the non-Jews there's probably thousands of Jewish souls that need to be converted, and they constantly get converted. And when Mashiach comes, he will actually, we're going to talk about it next week, Mashiach will actually be the only one who would look at each person and tell those people, you are from this tribe, you're from this tribe, you're not even Jewish, you're Jewish, you're from this tribe. You know how many people in our generation think they're Jewish and they're not even Jewish. How is that possible? Because I'll give you the most simple example. 30 years ago, 1.5 million Russians came from Russia to Israel. With them came maybe 250,000 that are not Jewish.
Change the name.
Whatever. Why? They wanted to run out. They hopped on the train because it was easy for the Jews to get visas to get out. Maybe they're evaluating, maybe 250,000 non-Jewish Russians came in that immigrant time. Now what happens? Comes Vladimir and Sasha to Israel. They're not even Jewish. And they know they're not Jewish. And then they fall in love with a Jewish girl, or vice versa, and becomes a whole mess. And I actually had to give the example the other way around. The woman is not Jewish, but she goes to a Jewish school, and she speaks Hebrew, and she's Israeli. And then comes an innocent man and marries her. And then the kids are not Jewish. And now you have a kid who goes to the army in Israel, speaks perfectly Hebrew, looks Russian, blonde hair, blue eyes, looks a little bit not Jewish, and he's not Jewish. And then he dies in the army, and then they come to bury him, and the rabbi is like, wait a minute, he's not Jewish. We can't bury him. And then the media makes a whole mess how the religious people are not allowing a person who gave his life in the Israeli army to be buried in the cemetery. And there's a whole mishmash in Israel right now. So I can tell you, I know personally situations that people think that they're Jews and they're not. You know how many people think that they're Jews and they're not? After the Holocaust, people came in all the immigrations. You know, in every wave of immigration in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s, there was always an Erev Rav that came with them. In the immigration from Yemen, in the immigration from Iraq, there's always were people who were like tagged along and they're not even Jewish.
But they converted? Did they convert?
No. If they convert, then everything's fine.
Oh.
But sometimes they don't convert, and you know,
What if you live a Jewish life and you totally think you're
then you have a problem. You have a serious problem, yeah.
And there are also non-Jews that they are really Jewish.
Yeah. Yeah, and from that there's even more.
They don't even know, huh?
You know how many Jews in this country don't know they're Jews and they live their life like Catholic or Christian or whatever? And I personally know dozens of them, dozens, that they find out in the middle of their life they're Jewish. I know somebody that when I lived in New York, I would go all the time, I would go to lectures and classes, and so, you know, I met this one guy, wonderful guy. We got very, very friendly, and we somehow got in connection because he had a business and he wanted to build a sukkah for Sukkot, and he called me. So I said I will build it, so it will be a kosher sukkah. Long story, he did this for the business. Long story short, we're talking and talking and talking, and after severe investigation, not deliberately, we found out his wife is Jewish. His wife is Jewish. Her kids are Jewish. A woman in her 40s, in the middle of her life, suddenly finds out she's Jewish. And the kids are Jewish. The girl was just bat mitzvah. The boy had to be circumcised. He was 7 years old. The woman in the middle of her life figured out, with our help, hey, wait a minute, I'm Jewish. And how? It's very easy to figure
Why
out.
didn't she know in the first place?
Why didn't she know? Because after the Holocaust came to the United States, tens of thousands of people who were so scarred by the Holocaust, they didn't want to be Jewish. They went to Texas, they went to Alabama, they went to Utah. Instead of Jacobson, it became Richardson. Instead of Yosef, it was Joe. They didn't want to hear about it. And then came a generation and another generation, and suddenly one person was like, wait a minute, what's going on? You know, I'll tell you a story. It's a moving story. When I lived in New York, you know the Chabadnikim who go in the Friday to put the tefillin on everybody?
Yeah.
One of my best friend goes to the city every Friday and he starts asking people, are you Jewish? Are you Jewish? You want to put tefillin on? Okay, he puts tefillin on dozens of men. Comes a young man, are you Jewish? The guy tells him, you know, he doesn't tell him anything. He tells him, come and put tefillin on. He puts tefillin on. My friend tells him this, Shabbat. It's like getting him all excited. The guy tells him, thank you very much, and he goes off. The next Friday, the same guy shows up in the same spot, and he tells him, I want to put the leather on me again. My friend is happy. He got a good fish. He puts him on him again, the tefillin. He gives him a brochure. He gives him a CD. He gives him this, sends him off. Next Friday, again, the same guy comes. He tells him, can you put this leather thing on me? I feel amazing when you put it on me. My friend becomes, long story short, I'm going to tell you the short version, becomes very good friends with him. The guy comes over and he studies with him once a week. And then the guy starts, doing this mitzvah and that mitzvah and this mitzvah and that mitzvah. Okay, one day, after they become very good friends and this guy comes and studies and everything, one day, this guy tells my friend, listen, I don't know how to tell it to you, and I feel real bad because, you know, I was a little bit lying to you, but I'm not Jewish. So my friend is like, okay, so for the Torah you learned, fine. For the tefillin, you know, you can't really put tefillin on, but anyways, my friend was like, okay, you know, whatever. So the guy tells him, but I want to become Jewish because I learned so much from you. I have to become Jewish. And every time you put the tefillin on me, I feel chills in my body. And every time I do something that has to do with Judaism, my soul is screaming, I want to convert. Okay, you want to convert? No problem. Long story short, he didn't want to tell his parents that he's converting because they would flip out. The guy went, he converts, he does circumcision in his 20s, and he comes home one day to his parents and he tells his parents, I have news for you. You have to sit down. The parents were already afraid that he's going to tell them that I don't know what. That's something like that. And he tells them, I just converted and I'm now Jewish. Both the parents starts crying. He's like, look, you know, it's the right thing and this, and he's trying to sweeten the deal. And they're crying and crying and crying, and after hours of crying, he doesn't understand why they're crying. And he's like, can you tell me why you're crying? So they're telling him, you are Jewish. You didn't have to convert. We are both Holocaust survivors, and when we left the concentration camp, and we left this bloody continent and landed in this country, we swore that we have nothing to do with this religion. We don't want to do anything with this God. If he can kill our entire family in front of our eyes, I don't have any connection with this God. We're totally renouncing our religion, and we raised you like a Christian, but you are Jewish. So the reality is, and this is the short version of the story, and this is a real story firsthand. It's not that I read it in somewhere. So there's so many thousands of Jews in this country that they don't even know they're Jewish. They don't even know they're Jewish. And you know what? Just today, I was speaking for 2 hours with a lady over the phone. Just today, I was speaking for 2 hours with a lady over the phone. Baruch Hashem, because I have a lot of videos online and the website and everything, I get hundreds of emails every day. People want to ask me questions and talk to me. This woman wanted to talk to me for a whole month. She's emailing, and the girl that processed my emails was overwhelmed with work. Finally, she got the phone call, and this woman talks to me today, and I answer the phone. How can I help you? And she tells me with this heavy southern accent from South Carolina, talking like a real, you know, southern, whatever they call it, but they have a name for the southern people. I even in the beginning thought I thought it's a joke. And then she tells me that her husband is a preacher. She lives in some hick town in South Carolina. The closest temple is like 2 hours away. Her husband is a preacher, and she grew up Christian. Preacher's a komer. A komer. A priest. But preacher is the one who also gives the drashot. He's like a special priest. So, long story short, she's in her 50s, and she now found out that she's Jewish. Why? Because her mother is very sick and about to die, and the mother started saying, you know, we're Jewish, we have to do tshuva for our path. And suddenly this woman, she's telling me, I'm a grandmother, and I just found out that I'm Jewish. And I don't know what to do, because my husband thinks I'm nuts. He doesn't let me do anything. I want to be Jewish. I want to do the right thing. When I go to a synagogue, I feel my heart melting. She's like, I feel my soul screaming. She's like, I know I'm Jewish. I have all the papers to prove it. My mother's Jewish, my grandma, but I lived 53 years in America, in the church, thinking that I'm Christian. So she was like, where do I even start? What do I do? I can't have a kosher house in a kitchen. My husband brings in everything not kosher. I can't keep I can't do anything. So the bottom line, we're getting real sidetracked. The bottom line that in this country, I believe there's tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, that are Jewish and they don't know they're Jewish. And I'll tell you one more story and then we're going to continue. I met not too long ago a person that it was a funny situation, and I knew the person for many years, and every time he was called for the Torah on Shabbat, they would call him as a Levi. So the Kohen gets the first Aliyah, the Levi gets the second Aliyah, and then all the rest of the Aliyot, the Israel gets them. Suddenly I see him being called to the Torah as a Levi. I told him, what, you got promoted? What do you mean? I know you for 10 years, you're Israel. Suddenly you're a Levi? Well, what is this happening? I'm like, maybe I'm hallucinating. He tells me, no. We just found we are Leviim. Found out. Told him, how do you find out such a thing? So he told me, I met a man a young man from Texas, who did a project about his ancestors. He wanted to know where he came from some Goyish town, same thing, in the church, everybody's Christian, everybody's very, very religiously Christian. He wanted to find out his ancestors. He went and he investigated here and here, and he did such a job that not only that he found out that he's Jewish and the entire family is Jewish, he found 10 other families and told that they're Jewish, and he found such information is unbelievable. You know, totally off the subject, but in the Chabad movement there are 7 rabbis. The previous Lubavitch Rebbe, his name is Yosef Yitzchak. He's known as the Friedeker Rebbe. He was the previous Lubavitch Rebbe, and he died in 1949. And when he was in the Holocaust, he managed to escape. Nobody can escape the Holocaust. Very few people. They bribed some SS officer, and they were able to get him out through Italy. I don't know the whole story, that's not the point. That guy from Texas that investigated and found out that he's Jewish found the documents of all this bribery to get that Rebbe out of the Holocaust. He found the documents. And he found out that my friend's family were actually Leviim. He traced back 200 years. And not only that he found that they're all Leviim, he found that they're descendants from the Maharal from Prague. He found today you can find anything. So that my friend got promoted, suddenly he became a Levi. So what I'm saying is that today you can go back and you can find your ancestry. And I have a relative that he married a young girl a few years ago, and the rabbi wanted to find out that she's really Jewish. They flew to Russia to take pictures of the graves, and they brought documents to show that she's Jewish. Today you can find. If you really look into it, you'll find. So to summarize the detour we took, there's tens of thousands of Jews in America, and I'm sure all around the world, that they're Jewish and they don't even know they're Jewish. You know what I'm going to tell you?
When they count the Jews, they say we have this many Jews. They're not counting those lost Jews?
No, they don't know. Nobody really knows. It's all an estimation. I'll tell you another story, but real short. A very good friend of mine, he is one of the Anusim, the Moranos. And he grew up, same thing, in a Catholic church. He was in Mexico and many different places. He grew up a total religious family. His father's a priest, grandfather, everybody priests, and he grew up as a Catholic person, and he found out that he's Jewish, and now his organization, he only teaches non-Jews Torah. That's his thing. First of all, he's so knowledgeable about Christianity and Catholicism and the New Testament, he can teach the Christians everything about it, and he knows how to even pull out from it all the nonsense, to connect everything, how there's nothing. So that's his thing. He goes and he teaches the non-Jews how to become Noahides, how to believe in one God, etc., etc. He's another living proof. He's in his 50s. He grew up not knowing that he's Jewish. So even in South America, there's tens of thousands of people who are Jewish and they don't even know they're Jewish. When Mashiach will come, he will point in each one and tell them from which tribe you are, and if you're Jewish or not Jewish. And you know how many people are going to be like, what? All my life I lived like a Jew and I'm not a Jew? Yeah, there are a lot of them. And you know what? Some of them find out about it and they convert. And I have a lot of friends. I have a friend who grew up like this, thinking he's a Jew. Somehow in his 40s, somebody in the family said, you know, we're not 100% that you're Jewish because your father remarried and this, and he brought him the whole thing. The guy grew up his whole life religious. And he went and he did what's called a giyur lechumra, a reconversion, just to make sure that maybe if there's a doubt that he is or he's not, he did a conversion. It was very hard for him. You know why? Because in the process of the conversion, he's not allowed to keep Shabbat. So he would keep Shabbat 100%. He would just carry something in his pocket in a place you're not allowed to carry. And he was very hard for him because he's like, I'm Jewish and I have to lechalel Shabbat now. So that was his tikkun. But there was a doubt that maybe he's not Jewish, and he did what's called the Giyur L'Chumra, and whatever. So the thing is that yes, it's in our hands and in our power, to find these people, and you know, that's why I don't like when I see a lot of religious people, when they don't treat nice non-Jews, it's a very big Chilul Hashem, because some of them are already Jews, some of them are Jews. But we totally got sidetracked off our subject, and I don't want to go too far off the subject. I was talking about the reincarnation into trees. So in trees, not every tree has a soul, but souls can get reincarnated in a tree. Some trees can live for 500 years, so you can imagine the torture for the soul in the year. Some trees they live 2 years. Some tree gets burnt, which is also a tikkun for the neshama, because the tree gets burned to ashes. This is part of the tikkun, because the neshama feels the pain. Some trees, on the other hand, they get elevated into a mitzvah. They become a Aron Kodesh, a holy ark. They become, the wood that surrounds the Sefer Torah. They can become paper that will make a book, and somebody will read out of it.
And
So,
the Neshama feels that he is
the neshama feels everything and it knows everything.
he's in the whatever is there.
Exactly. No, once the neshama reaches the tikkun, the neshama leaves.
No, but when he's in the tree, he knows that.
Yeah, the neshama feels it, and actually, I read not too long ago that science found a machine that in very thin radio waves, they hear the sounds the trees make when they cut them. And they went to all sorts of forests, and they, with this special radio machine, and they found that every time they cut a tree, they would hear the screaming of the tree. That the trees make sounds, we don't hear it, but the trees do. So even science is already backing up everything that Torah is teaching us. But yes, when the soul is in the tree and the tree gets cut off, the soul feels it. And the soul, that's why we see it in haunted movies, that the trees, it's scary in the forest. Yeah, sometimes you can know that there's souls in there.
Not always.
Not always. Then a worse type of reincarnation is that a soul goes into something inanimate, which can go into water, can go into salt, can go into a rock, can go into many different things. And that's also a very bad thing, because a rock can be in this world for 5,000 years. And that type of reincarnation, the Arizal says, this is like mamash, really wicked people, that they're stuck, and the punishment of such a soul is that they're so spiritually dead, like a rock. They're lifeless. They can't move. They can't do anything. They're stuck in a very still position. And for the soul, it's a very big suffering, which the suffering, in essence, is a cleansing for the soul. Now, there's a separation between a reincarnation of a tzaddik and a reincarnation of a rasha, a wicked person. The tzaddik comes to fix something or to help another person or to correct. The rasha, sometimes people are so wicked that what happens is, and this is what I talked about before, and I'll go a little bit about it, when the soul leaves this world, there's a process. What happens? The first thing that leaves the body is the soul. And it leaves 30 days before the person dies. The soul is built from 30 components. Every day, 30 days preceding to the death, a piece of the neshama leaves the body. We know that 40 days before the death, the tzelem eloki, the godly figure, is leaving already the body. I spoke about it many times. That's why we see sometimes old people, before they die, they start talking weird, they start giving away their stuff, they know they're about to die. That's because the tzelem eloki, the godly figure that surrounds the body, already left. 30 days before the person dies, they're already announcing in the heavens, this person is about to come. All the relatives are already gathering the welcoming party. And I'm not saying it in a joke. The relatives are getting prepared to receive the soul. Of course, if the soul is worthy. Every day, 30 days preceding the death, a piece of the soul leaves the body. And the day of the death, the ruach leaves the body. We talked about the levels of the soul. And the nefesh is still in the body. Now there's different levels in the nefesh. Part of the nefesh leaves the body, because if not, the body cannot die. But a piece of the nefesh stays in the body. Now what happens is The second that they put the body in the grave, the body is full of sins. Because the body is the one who did the sins, the nefesh just participated. What happens the second that the body is in the grave, 4 angels go into the grave and they lower the ground under the grave to the height of that person. So if that person is 6'2", they push the grave 6'2" into the ground, that they can take the body out. What they do is they take the body out, they take the nefesh and they put it back into the body. Just that each angel grabs one angel grabs one hand, the other one the other hand, one grabs the foot, one grabs the other foot. They pull the body out, they put the nefesh back into the body, and then they start beating the body with torches of fire to get all the klipot, all these negative energy, all these sins out of the body. Why do they do that? Because the body is the one who did the sin. So if I now lied, and if I now cheated, and now I didn't put tefillin, and I didn't bench, and I didn't do this, every time I made a sin, I put a patch of dirt on my body. Now the soul leaves the body. The soul, the neshama, doesn't get damaged, but the nefesh is part of the body. So these klipot, this negative energy, has to be broken and removed away from the body. If you ever saw the people who go to the Dead Sea, and then they put the sand on them, and then it becomes hard, and then you have to break it off, kind of like that. The body is surrounded with these klipot, with this negative energy, this a spiritual peel that is around the body, and these angels, they get it off the body. The more the person is Torah observant in this world, and the less averot the person is done sins in this world, this process is smaller and smaller and smaller. If a person is a real wicked person, then this process is very, very painful. If the person is a Torah observant person, but not too many things, it's not so bad. And there are all sorts of things that one can do in this world to minimize this process. Now what happens is, if the person is a soul of a good person, then the process is over, and then the nefesh is being delivered to the heavenly court. The heavenly court takes 12 months in our time for a wicked soul, but for a person who won the trial, it's only 11 months. During this time, the soul is wandering around. Sometimes it goes into Gehenom, comes out of Gehenom, comes down. It depends on the person. But what happens is that a person is real wicked. They don't even let the soul go to the heavenly court, and they don't even let the soul go into Gehenom. They don't even let it. The soul comes to Gehenom, and it tells them, I want to be cleansed. No, you have no permission to enter here even. In most of the cases, what happens at that time, they take the soul to a place that is called kafakela. Kafakela is like a slingshot. If you take a slingshot and you put a rock, and you stretch the rubber, and then you shoot the rock, this is a slingshot, this is kafakela. Basically a soul that doesn't have permission to go into Gehenom, then they take it to kafakela, and the soul gets thrown around the universe. And it doesn't have a place to rest. Everywhere that it lands, come all sorts of malachei Kabbalah, destructive angels, and they beat it, and they torture it, and they hunt it, and Hashem Yirachem. And then they get thrown to another place, and everywhere it goes, it doesn't find a place to rest.
I have a question. You say all the time they're burning, like someone will go to the Gehenom, you get burned. True?
I can't hear you. If somebody...
You say all the time that someone that Hashem, like you sent to Gehenom, they burn him. Is it true?
No, this is like a metaphor. In Gehenom, there's not really fire. It's not how the scriptures come to paint the situation that you can imagine what's going on. But there's no barbecue in Gehenom that they turn you around like a shawarma. It's not like that. It's a mystical thing. Now the thing is, why am I telling you all this? Because a soul of a wicked person, first of all, doesn't find rest anywhere. It doesn't even find rest in Gehenom. They don't even let it into Gehenom. Now what happens is that this soul...
What's the definition of a wicked person? I mean, what would be...
Not even 1 ounce of good thing. Thief, liar, commits adultery, rapes, steals, not even talking about doing any mitzvot. Totally goes against God, totally mocks the Torah, I'm talking about a wicked person that has two qualities.
It's a Jew, right?
It can be, yeah, there are Jews like that.
But I'm saying non.
Yeah, right now I'm talking about a Jew. I'm not even
Okay.
talking even about non-Jews right now. Non-Jews also have a soul. They also go up to Shamayim. There's not much of a difference. Right now I'm talking about a Jew, but unfortunately there are Jews that they mock the Torah, they mock Hashem, they don't believe in Hashem, they do everything to make fun of it, so they don't even have even half a mitzvah, but even in the sense of being a normal person, they steal, they cheat, they commit adultery, they hurt people, they're not courteous. A lot of people who are not religious, but they're good people. That's a big zchut. I know many people that they don't do Torah and mitzvahs, but they're very kind and they're very charitable and very merciful, and they host and they do a lot of good. Yeah, there's nothing. But I'm talking right now the people who don't do, that they're real bad. Now, why am I telling you all that? Because those types of souls, since they're wandering around the world and they don't have a place to rest, the only place they can rest is in a body, in a physical body. And sometimes what they do is they get pregnant into a body. And this is what's called a dibuk. There's a dibuk and there's a ibur, but a soul of such a wicked person can go into a body just to find shelter for a week or two. And they hide in the body because the angels that look for them, they can't find them. And this is one type of a reincarnation. This is a very negative type, is that this very negative soul gets attached into a body, and what it can do, either it can affect the body, and you see sometimes that people go a little bit crazy. Sometimes people become very, very sick, but very, very sick because of that soul. Because sometimes the soul of that wicked person can go just on the hand, or just in the liver, or just in the foot. Yeah, and that can manifest into a disease, a deadly disease. The reason why I'm telling you all that is because this is why it's so important that a Jew has mezuzot on his house. A house that has kosher mezuzot, a soul like this cannot enter. And you have to have a mezuzah on all the doors, not only on your front door. Has to be a mezuzah on every petach even like this. This is not really a petach, but you know sometimes you have a passage without a door. It also needs a mezuzah. But everything that is a guardian to our body is very important because it allows these types of neshamot, of wicked people, to actually get reincarnated. It's not really a reincarnation, it's more like a dibuk into a healthy body. It sounds very crazy, but it does happen.
So are you saying sometimes if people have like a breakdown or mental illness?
Yeah,
it could be related to that?
yeah. It can definitely be that a soul got impregnant in them. I think in English they called how is it called in that movie? The circusist, the exorcist. How do you say it in English? There's a word to it in English that somebody gets like a not depression. That they actually, there's somebody now. They had a video of it going around the internet for a woman in Israel that you see her on the floor screaming and twitching and you're screaming all sorts of curses and all sorts of words in Aramaic. Yeah, it's like it's a dibuk. Mamash, the soul like this enters the body, and the body, the thing, it can only enter if the person allows that soul to enter. How? But first of all, not guarding the house and the body. That's why we put mezuzot in our house, and they have to be kosher mezuzot. And in the house, you have to have some books with Torah in it, and you have to have a charity box in your house. You have to do mitzvot in your house. You have to keep some mitzvot. Unfortunately, it depends on the person, but some people, they do certain sins, and what they do is they create like a gate where one of these bad souls can enter through.
When you said for 2 weeks.
Oh, it can be for 2 years. It can be for 5 years. Sometimes they go in and they hide in the body.
How could they get it out? There is some people they capture it. You saw in a movie.
Yeah, it's not like Ghostbusters when they come with machines, but there are ways. Yeah, there are certain rabbis, they know how to get the neshama out. The thing is like this, that up until the time of the Baal Shem Tov, which is about 300 years ago, that was a very common thing. since the time of the Baal Shem Tov, he kind of annulled most of the shedim, the demons in the world, and most of the klipot. He kind of cleaned the world. I would say, just for the sake of the example, 90% he cleaned it. That's why there's no witchcraft anymore in the world. There is, but very little. There's no sorcerers and witches and demons and all those things. The Baal Shem Tov kind of annulled it. Excuse me? Yeah, there's a story how he was an orphan, and when he was 3 years old, he went into one of the forests, and he got to the headquarters of the Samech Mem, the devil himself, and he walked in, and the Samech Mem himself told him, "What are you doing here?" Long story short, Baal Shem Tov told him a pasuk from Tehillim, and he said, "V'itbatlu kol po'alei aven," and all the I don't even know how to translate it, but all the po'alei aven, all the workers of the Samech Mem, of the devil, will break, and he killed most of them. And he was able to bring such light into the world, the light of Chassidut, that, when the light pushes away the darkness can't penetrate. So that's what he did. He started preparing the world for Mashiach. But it's still existing in our world. Now the thing is that we maybe don't see people falling on the floor and yelling curses in Aramaic, but you see people that they get depressed, and you see people that they commit suicide, and you see people that lose their mind, and you see people that go into all sorts of mishugas, and it can happen. I'm not saying it's 100%, but that's one of the reasons why people do go through that. That's why I always say the same thing. The Kriyat Shema al Amita, saying Kriyat Shema before you go to bed, that's the biggest remedy to make sure that you don't get affected by that. The Shema Yisrael before you go to bed. But I told you already, not just saying Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, rather reading all the pages. And I'm not making it up. I'm just repeating it like a parrot after what I read. The Arizal says it very clear that the Kriyat Shema al Amita is the remedy for cleaning your soul, for removing all the klipot from you. This is one of the reasons, one of the ways how you get reducing the chibut hakever that I said before. And the Kriyat Shema al Amita guards your body from all the mezikim. Mezikim is all the spiritual beings that come to harm you.
You can reverse it?
Of course, everything you can reverse.
I'm saying if you were, so you got affected,
Yeah.
you start doing all these things, then it might go away?
Not might, it will. That's why. That's
Hashem let all this to come and attach us.
because with when Hashem created the world, she's asking a nice question. You heard it? She's asking why Hashem is allowing this. When Hashem created the world, it says Zelu Madze bara Elokim. Hashem had to create both sides. He had to create the good and the bad. The reason why he had to create the bad is to cover the godliness. If godliness would not be covered, then all we would see is godly revelation. There wouldn't be a concept of sin. There wouldn't be any concept of anything, because we would just bow to Hashem every second. We would go like crazy people, because we would just see Elokut. So Hashem had to conceal the godliness. The word world in Hebrew is olam. Comes from the word he'elem, to conceal. So Hashem has many ways he reveals himself, which corresponds to his names. One of his name is Elokim. One of his name is Yud Kei Vav Kei. One name is Aleph Daled Nun Yud Ado. One name is Shin Daled Yud. There's many names. Each name is a different type of godly revelation in this world that has a certain power in this world. So the name Yud Kei Vav Kei, we don't say the name. This is the power of Havaya, of creating the world. The name, for example, of Elokim is judgment. It's a concealment. It hides it. Now, the way Hashem created it, Hashem created the world, but right away He hid Himself. Now, if we would not have this concealment, the whole point of the world would not. There's not going to be a point of the world. The whole point is that Hashem concealed Himself, that there will be the option of free choice. If I would see God right now, there wouldn't be enough. I would not sin. I would never sin. So Hashem wanted to give us free choice, so we can have a reward to our actions. So He hid Himself. That's it. In order to hid Himself, He created a godly power that if it's used the wrong way, the effect will be negative. And that's why we have negative things in this world, because we use the godly concealment in a negative way. We take godly things and we change it to something not godly. Now here's there's many different categories, because for example when Adam HaRishon made the sin, he was cursed. Now since Adam HaRishon came from the ground, so Hashem also cursed the ground. Arura ha'adama me'efo bata. The ground that you came from is cursed too. So because of this curse, we have bugs, flies, mosquitoes, all the shatzim, all this is from the curse. So when you ask why did Hashem create flies, because they're just annoying. There's no benefit in flies. There's no benefit in mosquitoes. There's no benefit in bugs. You can say there's a benefit in this type of animal because it eats that animal and it keeps some type of biological balance. There's no benefit in flies. Why? Hashem cursed the land, the Adamah, and because the land was cursed, all the dirt came out of it. When Mashiach will come and there's not going to be any more curse, as Truach Hatuma Avir Min Haaretz, the power, the spirit of impurity will be removed, we're not going to have flies anymore. We're not going to have mosquitoes. We're not going to have bugs and cockroaches and all this. That's it. This is just because of the curse. So bad things happen in this world for two reasons. A, that I did something. I brought this bad into the world. Like I always say the same thing. You bang your head at the wall. You can't complain at anyone that you have a headache. You bang the head at the wall. So if I do a sin, I created a gap, I created an opening, then I brought in negative force. Because there's two forces in the world, light and darkness, good and bad. If I do good, I bring in light, the light wins over the darkness. Take a very dark room, close all the lights, and then light one little candle, the light won over the darkness. And if chas v'shalom I push away the light, then I bring in darkness. So I can't complain that bad things happen. Another part is that people take the tools that God gave us and they use it to the wrong source. God gave us money. We all go and work to make money. Yeah, if I take my money to give charity with it, and to buy kosher food, and to make a nice Shabbat meal, and to send my kids to yeshiva, and to buy nice tefillin, and to buy books, etc., 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 I'm taking something God gave me and I'm utilizing it to something positive. But I can take my money and use it on nonsense. I can go to Vegas and lose it on the machines. So I'm taking something that God gave me and I'm damaging it. So this is just one example with money. It can be with anything. Even marital relations. God gave me the opportunity to bring life to the world. When me and my wife are together, we can bring a life to the world. I'm a partner in creation. So I can use it in a holy way, and something positive. And unfortunately, most people use it in a negative way. So if I use something negative, then I distort the reality of it. So bad things manifest from it. So it's not that Hashem lets it. The thing is that also Hashem created the world with a lot of rules, and He does not break the rules. There are rules. Some rules are meant to be broken, some rules are not broken. That's why all the miracles that are in this world are in nature. Even the miracles that happen in Mitzrayim, in Egypt, there were miracles in nature. Hashem didn't send aliens, He sent animals. He sent hail. He sent diseases. All the miracles, all the plagues were in the world, in nature. And even when He took them out of Egypt, everything is in nature. The sea split, He bent the rules of nature, but the water just moved. He didn't do anything. You can see in all the miracles in history, Hashem uses nature as the tool. He doesn't bend the rules of nature. Since Hashem made rules in the nature, and Zelu Madze Bara Elokim, Hashem created both forces. It has to be balanced. So there's also a force of negativity, the bad elements, and it's in our powers to actually overpower it. Now, if God would not put something negative, what would I fight with? My main creation in this world is to overpower my evil inclination. Kat sitra acha. That's it. My main reason why I was created is kat itkafya sitra acha, is to subdue my inclination. That's what I was created for.
Why incarnation? What
No, my evil inclination. If I have a desire now to do a certain sin and I subdue it, this is called itkafya sitracha. I subdue my inclination. It seems to me like a very superficial thing, but if I want to eat a certain food right now, I'm going in the street and I see this delicious bakery. The smell makes me want to go crazy, and I know it's not kosher. I have right now a little fight here. Should I eat this cupcake? Should I not eat the cupcake? So my evil inclination tells me, it's a cupcake. Who cares? You're such a good person. Who cares if the cupcake is not kosher? Big deal. So my godly soul will tell me, no, it's not kosher, because it's not done with ingredients that are kosher. And the non-Jew turned on the oven. It's not allowed to be eaten, etc., etc. So your evil inclination tells you, what the hell with your nonsense? It's a cupcake, for God's sake. Just eat this cupcake already. And you have a fight in your mind. But if you overpower your desire, your lust to this little cupcake, you just did the purpose of your creation. You overpowered this evil inclination in you. You subdued it. You won it. You got now a check in your mission. And this is why we were created in this world. So Hashem also created this negative energy. There's a story in the Zohar that it says that the king wanted to see how strong his son is, if he's worthy to be the king. So he went and he hired a hooker. And he told the hooker, sorry I'm using this word, but that's what the Zohar is talking about, and he's using that word. And he says to the hooker, maybe there's a nicer word in English, maybe I'm using not a nice word, so we'll say a woman for the sake of the example. And he told this woman, go and seduce my son. I want to see if he fails. I want to see how strong he is. If he fails, I don't know if he's worthy to be king. If he can control his urge, he's worthy to be king. Now this woman said, I don't want to make the prince fail. All this weight is going to come on me. I don't want to be responsible. But then again, the king gave me an order. I have to fulfill this mission. So she goes and does it by the order of the king. She does what the king tells her, and she seduces the child, the prince. She doesn't want to, but she has to do it. And this is this evil force that comes down to this world. God tells them, go to my child. I want to see how strong my child is. I want to see if that Jew will fail. And you go and seduce him to do this sin. And if he fails, then we're going to send him another one. But if he doesn't, he's worthy for the reward. So Hashem created this negative agent, let's call it. Now comes a little problem, that this is what happened in our generation, is that this particular woman didn't want to do the dirty work. She went and hired another woman. And she told her what to do. Now she told her who is the messenger and who is the subject. So the second woman also said, I don't want to do that. I don't want to mess my hands with the prince. She went and hired another woman. And so forth, and so forth, and so forth. And the 20th one that was hired didn't even know that the command that came from the king and that the subject is the prince. And this is what's happening in our generation. The klipa, this negative force, is so powerful, it doesn't even know what created it and who sent it down to this world. And that's why the klipa in our generation is so powerful, that the hester, that the concealment in this world is so strong. There's such spiritual darkness that everything looks normal in this world. So all these things that you're doing now that we talked about in our generation that we talked about before, it looks like half the world thinks it's normal to all this situation. It's not normal. Go 200 years ago, who would accept such a thing? But now there's such a spiritual darkness in this world. The klipa is in such power that everything looks normal. It's okay. They're human beings. It's fine to do it. No, it's not fine to do it. So the darkness in our generation now is so strong because the klipa is already 20th generation of this woman who got hired. She doesn't even know who sent her. So going back to where we started, why there's this negativity in this world, because Hashem brought this negativity to the world, because if not, then there wouldn't be a point. The only problem is that we feed this negativity. Now, if I now have a certain desire to do something, and I don't overpower it, and I feed it, so it grows, and it grows, and it grows, and it grows, and then it becomes worse and worse, and then it's out of control. And then it's hard for me to control it. So even if I want to already control it, I'm already locked by this klipa. I'm already trapped in this klipa. This klipa is this inclination, this desire that I have. So one person, the desire will be small. This cupcake I'm talking about. Another person is going to be to steal. Another person will be to cheat. Another person will be all of them together. Another person, each one falls into one type of klipa or many, and then he has to somehow get out of them. So going back to where I started, is that why I started all this, because some people, they're so wicked in this world that their soul is not even permitted to enter Gehenom. Their soul is wandering in this universe with no rest, and they're looking for one place to rest, another place to rest, and where can they rest the most? In somebody's body. And we allow it to happen. And the way to take care of it is, needless to say, to if you observe Torah and mitzvahs, then your body is holy. Nothing can penetrate. But what keeps these diamonds is if when you say Kriyat Shema Lamita, you surround your body, you protect your body, because when you go to sleep at night, the soul leaves the body, and the body is just hefker on the bed, it's just thrown there. Any bad entity, angel, whatever, can come and take a piece of it. So and that's when also these neshamot can actually come and grab from the body. And yes, part of the, I would say a big part of all the mental problems in our generation, it manifests from that. It manifests from the spiritual sickness. That's why you see half these countries on Prozac and whatever other medications they take, because nobody has an answer. You go to a doctor, he tells you take a pill. The funniest thing is that the pills don't work, because if they would work, there would be no more sick people. So the pill is just to numb everybody down. The answer to all this mental sickness of depression and anxieties and fears and all this is not pills, is clean your soul, refine your soul, do tshuva, remove all these sins from you, your mind will be functioning 100%.
But sometimes it can be inflicted, like somebody did something to somebody to upset them.
That's something momentarily. This is not a depression or something more than that. Of course, there's always something.
But it can sometimes continue, and it can be someone very, very, very badly affected, like a party. Exactly.
The thing is that everything in the spiritual realm needs a physical way to get dressed. Exactly.
Do that to somebody, and somebody can be very badly affected.
Exactly.
It could be done in a very, very bad way that this person will never get rid of the effect. And if that's inflicted, then how can you?
First of all, everything can be fixed. And the thing is like this: anything that comes on us is essentially comes from Shamayim.
We want to fix it. We want to help the person.
So the only way to fix it is by Torah and mitzvahs, and by pinpointing where's you know what? This is kind of the summary for the entire class. Is the whole point of the whole concept of reincarnation is it for us to understand that I was sent back down here with the opportunity to fix. If I came up there and I'm not 100%, and I was sent down here is to fix, which means that everything that comes to me in this world, as extreme as it may be, it came from above. A person nothing happens in this world for no reason. So the whole point of the reincarnation is for us to understand that I have the chance to fix anything I can fix in this world. And if I was lucky enough to be reincarnated in a human body, in a Jewish body, I should take the remaining days of my life to see what do I need to fix. And if you really look at yourself, you can see what you need to fix. And any problem, any tzara that comes to a person in this world Like you said, somebody chas v'shalom gets raped. It's not by chance. It was from above.
Well, I think I don't agree. Sorry.
Everything comes from above. In essence, everything comes from Shamayim. Even the worst of the worst is Hashem's messenger.
Well, okay.
It's hard to accept, but there's a reason for that. Now,
But it's that person that's doing it.
the person that does it,
Are they doing, what are they doing?
the person who does it is chosen from above to be the messenger that actually has to go through it, and can come for many different reasons. There's a famous story that there was a certain individual who, his name is Shim'i ben Gera, and he came and cursed David HaMelech. Shim'i ben Gera. He was somebody at the time of, he was a minister. He was at the time of David HaMelech, King David, and he cursed the king. According to the law, somebody who curses the king, he has to be killed. So David HaMelech said, no, Hashem told him to curse. Leave him alone. It means that I had to receive this curse. Hashem appointed a messenger to come and curse me. Hashem told him to curse. So if somebody comes now and hurts my feelings, or slaps me in my face, or steals from me, or something happens to me, I can't curse that person and says, look what he did to me. No. What did I do that Hashem sent that barking dog to bite me?
So get the lesson. Pay attention, see what's
Open your eyes. Where did you do something wrong that a little dog came and bite your tuchus?
If you cannot find out,
Then he has to. If something as extreme like this happens to a person, the person needs to do what's called cheshbon nefesh, to sit with himself and said, I went through a car accident. Must be that I'm doing something wrong, that I'm getting a message from above. Somebody broke into my house and stole my jewelry. Somebody tricked me and I invested a very bad investment. Something.
So we're not victims, basically, like
Essentially, we are the victims, but when something bad happens to you, don't curse or be upset at the person who did it. Rather say, that person is a messenger. What did I do wrong that I'm getting this slap right now? And if a person is honest with himself, he'll say, okay, let me see what I did. Maybe I owe somebody money. Maybe if I was now conned and I lost $1,000, maybe I tricked somebody 10 years ago in a business deal and I took money that I wasn't supposed to, and now I'm getting it back. And if I ran into this situation, maybe I did something 20 years ago and now Hashem is completing the cycle. That's why it says, don't be upset at the person. Why do our sages say that a person is upset is like as if he's doing idol worship? Because he's not accepting the concept that what happened came from Hashem. He's upset at the person who stole from him. He's upset at the person who told him he doesn't look nice. He's upset at the person who cursed him or did something to him. You right now saying, no, it's not Hashem, it's that person. No, it's not that person. That person was appointed to be the messenger, and there's a reason why he's the messenger. Because he lost rights that he was chosen to be the one who actually sins too, because he also did something bad.
So it's something, okay, something yes.
But the reality is that any bad thing that happens to you is Hashem putting a mirror in front of you. That's why when a person, something bad happens to them, the first reaction is that your ego, why are you doing it to me? But the real reaction should be, whoa, wait a minute. If I'm seeing something, must be that I'm doing it. And that's why our sages say, Kol ha'koes ki'ilu oved avodah zarah. A person that is upset, he's like as if doing idol worship because he doesn't believe that it came from Hashem.